AITAH for telling my mom I won't be the good kid for free anymore? First off, this is one of my first posts, so please forgive me for any mistakes. So, some context. My mother has two children, me, 24F, and my younger sister, 15F. Her and my dad were never together, but when she got pregnant with my sister all those years ago, she married my stepfather out of wedlock. My stepfather is much older and was pretty wealthy at the time. When my mother decided to marry my stepdad, she packed me up and moved us 4 hours away from my grandparents, my primary caregivers since I was born, and my dad. I won't get too far into what my life was like after I moved in, but it is worth mentioning I suffer from diagnosed CPTSD and severe anxiety from my years of living with them. My sister never had a chance. From the start, she's been spoiled. Not just spoiled rotten. As the years went on, I tried to tell my mother and stepdad that she would not just grow out of it like they said she would. I've had friends compare her to Veruca from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. She screams, throws things, hits people, threatens to lie to CPS, calls our mother a whore/fat cow/depressed loser, and calls her father an old man. For heaven's sake, she called her 95-year-old grandmother an old bitch and stomped on our other grandmother's foot. She is out of control. What is done about this? Well, their idea of discipline is nothing. Her dad is considerably older and doesn't want to make her hate him for the short amount of time he has left with her. So he leaves the discipline to our mother, who is mentally very unstable and crumbles easily. Because my sister is so outwardly difficult, I've always been revered as the good child. To be clear, me being the good child included my silence and compliance. I had to be responsible and mature for my age because my stepdad and mother were not. Because of this, and some guilt, my mother and stepfather have always overly relied on me. I'm the one who placates, who mediates, who tried to parent their kid but was constantly undermined. It caused me to have several severe relationship issues as an adult. After high school, I moved out and went to college. I attended therapy and started to learn that my people-pleasing from living with them was crippling me. So I've slowly started stopping. The last key component to the context is my mom and stepdad do not support me. Even when I lived with them in high school, every dime for lunch money or new clothes came from my grandparents. Even my car was given to me by my grandparents at 18. They've paid one semester of my JUCO, roughly $2,500, and to their credit, they did pay for my braces when I was 10. However, this pales when compared to the $10K a semester they spend on her private school tuition, her $1,000 monthly allowance they put on her debit card, her new Porsche car which she can't even drive yet, plus so much more. My mother even asked me to give up my birthday last year to attend my sister's cheer nationals in Florida, which I did to be a good sister, but there was no such thing for me when I was in high school. For the record, I understand most of this money is my wealthy stepdad. I am not delusional to the fact that I am not his kid and therefore shouldn't expect support from him. However, they expect me to support them. Now I'm at a head. I've always relented and gone to my mother's house on Christmas Eve to wake up and open gifts Christmas morning because it's important to her, but I don't believe I'm there because she wants me to be, but mostly so I can mediate. My sister always makes a spectacle of Christmas Eve. Last year, our mother put $4,000 worth of gifts under the tree for her and me both, and my sister was not happy with a single gift that she asked for. I'm talking screaming, throwing gifts in the trash, biting, scratching. All at 14 years old. Christmas Day has always ended in screaming and tears. I hate Christmas because of this. This year, I wanted to spend it with my grandparents and see my dad over the holiday. This was not taken well. I get told by my grandmother that I'm the only thing keeping my mom sane. It was implied a good kid would want to spend time with her family and sister on Christmas, and I told her that my younger sister has gotten so much more than me, money, opportunities, support, etc., and she gets to be horrible to our mother and get rewarded for it. Why should I be a good kid if I'm not getting anything in return? Why should I spend a holiday with family that makes it horrible over my grandparents who are actually supporting me? My grandma said that this was a horrible thing to say. She begged me not to say this to my mother and to just put up with it. This is not how my grandparents raised me to be or think, but it's not so much about the money as it is just the blatant usage of me. Some part of me feels greedy and spoiled for being upset over the difference in support, but somehow it still just feels so wrong to keep giving in to them. What is keeping me at bay is that my grandparents have never steered me wrong, but I sometimes wonder if what was done to me gets forgotten about because my mother is mentally ill and does suffer, and my sister is like this because it's all she's ever known. I can't help but feel like I can't relent on this one though, that my boundaries are being trampled. So, AITA for wanting to say this to my mother? If yes, what else do I do? Thank you in advance for reading. Update. I took a lot of advice from my original post. Just felt like I should update things on here and get some advice in turn. Christmas went unexpectedly well, but not for the reasons one would think. I ended up not saying anything harsh to my mother. I stayed with my grandparents as long as I could, then made the 3-hour drive up to mother and stepdad. My stepdad's family has always been so kind and treated me like family, so I enjoyed going over there and spending time with them. My mother and stepdad left the get-together early on Christmas Eve. Come to find out, my sister had opened all of her gifts earlier that day before I got there. When she realized she didn't get everything she wanted, she took a couple of my presents and threw them in the pool. Luckily, I asked for a lot of cat toys for my cats, and those are the things she threw in, and they were fine after they dried. I spent the night with my mother and stepdad while my sister stayed with her aunt and cousins, and I opened my presents peacefully on Christmas morning before heading to see my dad. All things considered, it was a nice holiday compared to the others we've had. What comes after is unfortunately not an improvement. It seems like my sister's behavior is on a steady decline. For some context, last year my sister messaged me with a picture of her with a fat lip saying our mom hurt her. I was so angry, I called her aunt to pick her up and told her she was not allowed to go back, and if they had a problem I would call the cops. When talking to my mother, she had a severe black eye where my sister had attacked her. I didn't care who started it, I just thought it should never have had to escalate to that. She spent the summer with her aunt, CPS investigated and found no abuse in the home. Both my mom and sister went to therapy. My sister wanted to go back to her parents before school started. Now, presently, my sister has learned that she can abuse our mom and get away with it. I have gotten 3 phone calls where I've seen my mom with black eyes, scratches, or marks from my sister. I've witnessed her snatch a wig off my mother's head and ripped her hair out. My mother lacks confidence because her husband insults her on the daily, and my sister will destroy anything that could bring her confidence. I've witnessed her pour Starbucks into my mom's makeup bag, cut her wig, etc. She's thrown glass mugs at my mother too. The last phone call I got from my mother was her with another black eye, and she said that my stepdad tried to spank my sister, but she just rolled her eyes. Apparently he took her phone away too, but only for 2 hours. My stepdad does not stand up for my mother, and she has no power and no money to enforce over my sister's head. My sister says they can't do anything either, or she'll call CPS on them. When my mother called me this last time, I basically just shrugged and told her I didn't know what else to tell her. Send her to boot camp, a mission trip, turn off her phone, something. But it's all things I've said before. I've toyed with the idea of getting the law involved, but how seriously do they take child-to-parent abuse? Whipped if I did that? Any advice is appreciated, and thanks for reading my vent post. Edit, going no contact is almost impossible. I owe my entire life to my grandparents, and if I go no contact with my mom/stepdad, the burden falls onto my grandmother, who I'm sure my mom would hound to get to me. I am taking steps to go low contact, though. Edit 2, just found out my sister's aunt, my stepdad's sister, was told about the abuse from my mom. My aunt would like to hold a meeting and intervention with the whole family, me and the parents included. I will not be part of the disciplining process, but I absolutely will be giving my 2 cents on everything. Come to find out, it's my aunt paying for my sister's very expensive school, and she's now threatening to pull her from that school if she does not agree to a 6-week anger management outpatient thing. My sister is incredibly snobby and has said before she'd rather die than go to public school. She also loves her cheerleading team. I will keep updating.